everybody, it's Ben from Grappling Insider. Today, I am happy to be joined by, honestly, one of the best pound-for-pound competitors in the world today. She is a Nogi world champion, she's an 80cc vet, and she is fresh off a super fun, exciting win over Alex Enriquez at Who's Number One, Amanda Tubby Alequin. Amanda, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be on here.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I want to talk about the match that you just had that I just mentioned over the win over Alex Enriquez. It's been a few days since that performance. When you look back, kind of how do you rate your performance?
I'm honestly very satisfied with it. I wish I would have stuck with a little bit more positions and committed to like some more of the submissions, and just been more aware of her reaction versus just getting like a little hungry and then kind of crazy at the end. But besides that, I'm happy with how the match went. I'm very satisfied.
Awesome. I thought it was super fun. I just like rewatched it to get ready for this interview. So I do have some questions, and I'm curious what positions. Actually, first of all, what positions do you think you needed to spend more time on, so to speak?
For sure. So there was a little, I want to say probably a 2 minute to 3 minute time span where right before I mounted her, I had went inverted and locked up a calf slicer. And in that moment, when I first initially had it, I was trying to chase the back to come up under her. And then I heard her kind of like wimp a little. So I adjusted my grip. And instead of being so focused on like her back, I should have passed over her arm, went for an a twister, or, or done something like crazy from there, finished the calf slicer. That led into me coming up into like a leg drag position, which forced her for like a Kimura arm lock. And then I followed through to the mount. And then from the mount, I went for the gift wrap to her back, to a rear naked choke, to a head and arm. And then from that, yeah. And before that, I went for a triangle too. So it was just all those positions. I'm like, man, I should have just been more patient and just stayed there instead of just like, me, I like high pace, go, 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 go. Sometimes I have to press on that stop, that slow down,
I
that
mean,
break.
it made for a really fun match, I thought. There was a bunch of submissions on that card, but I feel like for going the full 15 minutes, you guys put on a really entertaining show.
Thank you. Thank you. That's always like my goal, like win or lose, like I always want to go out in fashion. So whether it's out on my shield, whether I'm losing, whether I'm winning, I always want to go out making sure I'm going out with the bang. So
For
always
sure.
want to fight to my last breath and give it all I got.
For sure. I appreciate it. Couple more questions about that match. I think the sequence that you're referring to led to you actually taking the back. And on watching the match on TV, it looked like at one point you were super deep on a rear naked choke. Was that deep at all? Did it seem like you were about to get
So
that?
I was over her chin, and like I said, that's why I wish I would have committed. Maybe if I would have been a little bit more grittier, like meaner, And right before this camp, when I was training with my dad and my brother, my dad kept mentioning it to me, to go for a gable grip from the back if my arm is above their chin, like not to worry about a face crank. And in that moment, I was like, oh, I just want to go ahead and finish with a rear naked. So like that was one position. Her chin was in, but once I started to make the space to bring my arm through, I felt her move her chin, and I was like, oh, I lost it. So then that's when I was like, I can't finish it from here. But initially, when I first had it, before I started to make the adjustments, if I would have just like gable gripped my hands and brought that elbow behind her back, I probably would have done some more tweaking to get under her neck.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was close. Something else, we don't get to see a ton of your guard passing. You typically pull guard. We saw a lot of it in that match. Something that you were doing that I'm curious about is attacking the front headlock, or darces,
Mhm.
what it might be to pass guard. I'm curious if that's something you typically do, if you're just looking for a darce, or are you looking just using that to pass? Kind of talk me through how you
Yeah,
use
no.
that position.
So for sure, when I get into that reverse De La Riva position, I found success in keeping their head like compromised and their spine concave. And then like we've been watching a lot of instructionals and stuff like that. And again, it makes sense. The game is evolving. I like recommend any black belt, like the white belts, the blue belts look like black belts up and coming right now. I recommend all current black belts, like expand your mind, watch instructionals. And I'm not just talking about the Janahers, I'm talking about all of them, like Kendall Rusling, Craig Jones, Gary Tonin, like all of them. But so it talks, when we were going over one of the instructionals, they talk about like the elbow placement and how you know where to attack, going for a darce, going for the crossface. So my goal, two attacks goals from there were to either threaten the darce and get it there and threaten a pass, go to mount from from that position, Or if I were to go to a crossface, if her elbow was near her rib cage, I would have went to a crossface, and then from there try to work for double unders to pass from the reverse de la Riva, like passing that knee shield. But for this case, she kind of like accepted me crowding her head and her staying concave. So from there, I was just trying to work and force that elbow in, because if I wasn't setting up the darts, then at least I was threatening a pass and can get something from there.
Awesome. Yeah, I thought it was, really cool to see you doing a ton of pressure passing, honestly. I thought it was fun to watch.
It's crazy because in training, I do a lot of that stuff. I like doing like all the footwork, like weaving my legs in and out, switching from guard to guard, de la Riva, high steps, like all that stuff. I love doing it in training. It's as a habitual guard puller, a creature in its own nature. I pull guard off rip. So that's one thing that if I try to explain it, like, when people were asking me about the camp, my friends and stuff, and my family, I told them the best way I could describe it is that if I were wearing a shot collar and my husband was on the other end of the button, it was like his thing was stick to the plan. So it's like every time he saw me pull guard, or if he saw me go into the reverse de la Riva position, he'd say, stick to the plan, stick to the plan. And it quickly just set a little buzzard off in me, and I'd switch position or get out of that position, or, completely just abandon what I was doing and do something else. So it was pretty cool. Like in training, I do all that already, but he was like, you need to turn that switch on when you go out there, because he's like, your passing is great. You can wrestle. He's like, you got to believe in your own wrestling. You just I don't like taking shots because I don't like my head being attacked and stuff. So he was like, but you have good wrestling, So it was basically being uncomfortable for a lot of the training, but finding comfort in it. So it was fun. It was a good experience.
And I only know this because I literally just watched the match again. You did pull guard. Did he get onto you that one moment that you pulled guard in this match?
So the only thing he said, at least give me 5 minutes of wrestling on your feet. He's like, after that you can pull. He was like, after that I know, because we were working a lot of collar ties, and the game plan was to kind of wear her down a little on the feet and then go from there. So when I initially did that guard pull, in my mind I wanted to jump. And I don't know why I hesitated and said I pulled in, but I was like, dude, if I would have just jumped into it, that knee would have never, compromised the whole position, because she was able to bring up her knee inside as soon as I pulled. So I was like, if I would have gotten a little bit stickier and jumped and latched on, then it would have been a good top guard, setting up for an armbar.
What's up, everyone? Chances are, if you're tuning into this interview, you probably train in jiu-jitsu, whether it's in the gi, no gi, or both. I've been training for about 13 long years now myself, and when it comes to the gear that I like to use, I personally recommend Rev Gear. They have a premium gi that I love. They have an ultralight competition gi. They have grappling shorts. They even have rash guards that are pretty understated in design but still really sharp looking. High quality gym bags, even backpacks that can hold multiple gis. So basically just everything you would need for BJJ training. The best part for me personally is that nothing on that site will break the bank. We're not talking $75, $80 rash guards or $250 gis. Everything that Rev Gear offers is super reasonably priced, which personally I love. To make it even sweeter, Rev Gear is offering a 10% discount on every purchase made on revgear.com when you use the promo code INSIDER10 at checkout. That's INSIDER10 for 10% off anything and everything you buy on the site. I will also drop a link in the video description below. Again, I cannot recommend their stuff enough. Everything I have from Rev Gear fits well, it's solidly made, and in my experience, holds up great in the long run. Again, head over to revgear.com. That's REVGEAR.com. Use the promo code INSIDER10 for 10% off any purchase made and get some quality gear at a phenomenal price. Now, back to the interview. Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of backtrack a little bit. This is the first time we've spoken. So I'm curious, what is describe for me your jiu-jitsu journey? How did you find it? What were kind of the milestones that led you to where you are today as a professional competitor?
So it started, my parents owned a sub shop in Riverview, Florida. And right behind that sub shop, they had opened up an XFC gym. It was the first one, it was 12,000 square feet. It was beautiful. And I started doing the Pilates classes, the boot camp classes, and even the MMA classes. And one day my brother came home and he was like, hey, I can put you in this move, but you won't be able to get out. And he betted money on it. I think $5. So I was just like, all right, let's go pipsqueak. Let's go. Put me in this move. So he put me in his close guard off rip. When he locked me in his guard, I was like, I could pound your face in, you know? So then he goes and he sets up the Kimura and I couldn't get out. And after that, like he almost felt like he almost ripped my shoulder off. So after that, the very next day I started my class, like my jiu-jitsu class. I was under Jerry Norton, who was a black belt under Eduardo de Lima. And I started off with him for about 4 years up until I got my purple belt. So off rip, my first class, I was like a wild cat on the mat. I was just like throwing my body everywhere, just like headlocking, just knowing what I knew what to do when I would wrestle my brother back at home. So like, you know, everyone was like encouraging. They were like, wow, like you got a fire in you. Like you learn technique, man. You could really go and compete and like, you know, do something with it. So off rip, I was like, okay, I'm hooked. Let's do it. And before I was boxing. So like I completely abandoned boxing and just stuck to that. And within 3 months, I got my first gi because I was doing the gi classes, the no gi classes, just no gi. So the first time I got my gi, I ended up getting 2 stripes on it. And I had like this karate, taekwondo. It was like vanilla colored. It wasn't even like a jiu-jitsu gi. And then, yeah, I competed in that till like it's shredded. And then I just started winning local tournaments. I was in the teens division. So I was going up against boys. And then when I hit 15, 16, a year in, because I started when I was 15. So like a year in, my dad was like, do the women's division. You know, he was like, you're 16, you can definitely do it. And you'll have more matches, more experience. So I started doing the teens and the women's divisions at all the local tournaments. And I was having like probably 8, 9 matches, 10 matches a day. It was fun. It was doing gi, no gi, and gi, no gi in both. And then my first major big win was at Pan Ams. I won the Pan Ams in 2012 as a blue belt. I was 17 at the time. It was fun. I had 8 matches that day, 4 for my division, 4 for the absolute. I ended up coming up short in the absolute by a footlock, but I got first and second. And then I just went on to just keep continuing from there. So 2013, I went and competed at No-Gi Worlds as a purple, and I won double gold as a purple belt. And then I went 2014 Gi Worlds. I got double silver in my weight in the absolute. And then 2015, I went as a brown belt for Gi Worlds, and I won double gold. Then I won the ADCC trials. I went to Brazil. I got 4th. I ended up losing by ref decision to Gabby Garcia. 2016, I won my first black belt no-gi world title. 2017, I got invited to go back to Finland for ADCC. I ended up scoring Gabby my first match, and she came back with a vengeance. And she almost took my foot home with her. And then 2018, it was kind of like a little lay low. You know, I wasn't really competing. I was transitioning from having my own gym to transitioning it to another gym. So I basically like sold my little members and stuff, and then merged with another gym. And then towards the end of 2018, I decided to go full time into jiu-jitsu. I took like a leave from my job working at the vet clinic. And then in 2019, I got down from middleweight to lightweight. And in 2019, I just started competing from there. Lightweight, I competed like 13 times that year. It was pretty fun. I won Pan Ams, I think. I placed first in the division. And then me and Talitha closed out for the absolute. And then 2020 hit, and that was really depressing. I got COVID. I lost my smell and taste for like over a year. So I dropped down another weight class. And then, that was so sad. It was so sad, depressing times. I love food. So like at that point, it was so sad. I was like, I don't want to eat. I was eating like bland, like salads, soda waters, like just the skinny girl diet. Cause I'm like, it's pointless. If I can't taste, I can't smell. Not even peanut butter, dude, tasted good. It was so sad. And then 2021, again, I signed, I can't even remember 2021 exactly. That was like, I did a lot of fight to wins. I did a lot of like fight to win tournaments, like super fights and stuff like that. And then 2022, last year, I fought Brianna St. Marie. I also did the Who's Number One in September of 2021. January of 2022, I fought Brianna St. Marie. And then I signed with One FC. And my match 4 times kind of got like on and off, you know. So then towards October, they told me I didn't have anything planned for me until the new year. And I kind of like got really sad and just like stopped training, was kind of just chilling. And then I found out that No-Gi World was going to be in October, in December in Orlando. So I'm like, it's in my backyard. I might as well just do it. So I kind of just like went out there and did it, competed then, and then this was the Who's Number One I just did was the after all that.
Awesome. Now you're
But
here.
yeah, but what's kept me motivated, dude, is honestly like the community. Like honestly, it's like goes past the wins. It's like people who I've met through jiu-jitsu, like the little team that I've been building over the last 10 years, you know, that's what's kept me going. Like my guys, my community, the support I get. So realistically, it's them, the people, man.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about that. You have all this like longevity at the like absolute highest level of the sport. Is it's the people that keeps you coming back?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I can't like it's if I lost, you know, because I've lost. There's been times where I've lost, and I've lost questionable loss, you know, like to where I'm just like, really, like that's just it's. So if I would have stopped there, then I would have been doing it for all the wrong reasons. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like I'm not in it for the wins, the losses, like the money. I'm in it for like the journey and like the experience. It's like I don't mean to sound cliche, but YOLO, dude. You only live once, and like I get to do this for a living. Like I get to do. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. So it's like for me, I'm so grateful for the life that I get to live. You know, even me working part time at a clinic, I'm surrounded by them that work with me. You know, work with my schedule. They know like that's like a hobby, and this is like my actual life. You know, so I'm just very grateful. So it's like it's the people that support me and the people that believe in me that keep me going. Because there's some times where I don't believe in myself, you know? And like there's like my guys are like, you're the best in the world. And my husband, he's like, you're the best. Like stuff like that. So it's like the people is what pushed me.
For sure. I think it's super obvious, like from an outsider perspective, you seem like you're really enjoying yourself when you're competing or just around in general. This might be a hard question for you to answer, but like, what is it about jujitsu that like actually being on the mat that you love so much that never mind the people that are great, but like, what is it about the training sessions, the day to day that you love so much about jujitsu?
I've learned to be like in the moment, like to not worry about like there were many times where I would worry about the result and be like, oh, I want to win. I want to win. This is how I'm going to win. This is how I'm going to. I've learned to just be in tune and be in the moment and be present. So like even in my training, like I'm trying to be present, whether it's me like keeping score, me being aware of, oh, I just got swept, me like just being aware. It's just so much more funner. There's like a whole nother world into like when you're actually being in the moment and not just going off of just reaction, when you're actually sitting there and analyzing like the problem that's in front of you and you're trying to figure it out. That's another thing too. It's learning again, being a student again, being able to sit like sometimes I do sit in front of the computer and I tell my husband, I'm like, bro, I just watched 30 minutes of this instructional and I got 4 lessons out of it and I'm stressed. I'm like, it's so much to just process, you know? So then like sitting there and doing it and actually being able to problem solve. Whereas before I would go off of just reaction, if that makes sense. Like, now I'm actually sitting there consciously like, oh, okay, if her elbow placement's here, you know, like in the match, I was being conscious of all that. And there were times where I was looking up at him because, again, he can see things I can't see from the outside. So it was like, it was just being in tune. I like being like that, in tune, being present in the moment, knowing what I'm doing, not just going off of like, oh, she's sliding to the side, let me hip escape real quick. You know, it doesn't really always work like that. It's just knowing how to solve the problem. I don't know if that makes sense. But,
it does.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're describing the thinking of a super high level black belt is what it sounds like.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
kind of
Thank
what everybody
you.
wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like it took me time. Trust me. There was even as a black when I first got my black belt, I'm like, I don't know anything. Like like I'm just going off of reaction, you guys. People would ask me like, oh, what are you doing in your matches? Like your guard retention. And I'm like, half the time I'm out there, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm just going off of what I know what to do naturally, you know, like. And I figured that was a problem. I was like, I'm not remembering what I'm doing in my matches. How do I expect to sell my brand? Like, how do I expect to like, you know, dissect my techniques and say, oh, this is what I do a lot in my matches. This is my style. So I started paying more attention to stuff like that.
That's interesting. I know you mentioned having COVID. What are some big like adversities that you faced in your competitive career?
Honestly, injuries. I like playing leg locks. So it's like I've suffered a lot of leg, knee injuries back and forth. And there were times where I would tape both my feet up just because I'm like, I got to do this. Like, you know, I can't say no to a match. I can't say no to this experience. I've gone against girls like Hanette Stack, you know, like Tata Ribeiro, Gabby McComb, like those are big names, all talented girls. And it's like, I can't say no to this match. So the adversities I face is what a lot of the jiu-jitsu people face nowadays, is just overcoming those little injuries that just kind of stay with you for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, you pretty like jovial, outspoken, fun person. Do you keep that energy in the training room, or are you more serious when it's time to train?
Oh yeah, it's both. Oh my God, I'm crazy on the mat, especially at 6 a.m. If I'm feeling myself, the guys are looking at me like, it's 6 a.m. Like, what are you on? You know? So it's hit or miss. Like sometimes I'll be serious, and when I'm serious, they all get scared. Like it was at one point on Tuesday nights, we were doing, gi training, only training. And then once I started taking over the training after like 2-3 weeks, no one started showing up. And Eric was just like, Tubby, you're scaring them. He's like, you gotta stop. Cause I'll have them do 5 pull-ups and like 15 burpees in between each round. Like while we're training, and I'm just like, just give me 5 rounds, guys, minimum 5 rounds. And me, I'm not one to like make them do that and not do it myself. Like I'll make it a point to be the last one on the mat, with my guys at the very end. But still, like Eric was like, you're doing too much. He was like, not everyone's he's like, everyone's still sore from last week. He's like, you got to calm down. So I've had to like tweak it down a little, make it more fun, more positionals, not more so intense training.
Yeah.
Because I could get crazy.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty intense. I'll be honest. You've mentioned your husband a few times. He's a BJJ black belt as well. Tell me about kind of the benefits, or like what it's like, because he's also a pro MMA fighter, pretty high level. Tell me what that's like, and kind of the benefits of being married to somebody who's also living that similar lifestyle.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Honestly, I would have to say the benefits are also the cons, man. It's like he's someone to keep me in check. Like a lot of people blow smoke up your ass and stuff, and he's someone that'll like bring me down to reality real quick. Like he'll keep me in check and tell me like, you're fucking around, or he'll sorry for my language, but he'll tell me like, you're slacking, or you need to get on it, like Tubbs, like, like stuff like that. So it's like, it's good to have someone that'll keep me in check, and he's always honest, brutally honest, maybe too honest sometimes. It hurts. But yeah, he's one to just lay it how it is and always ground me and bring me back. And also too, he's one to he could sit there all day and he loves to learn as well. So when it comes to like the instructionals or learning something new or dissecting something, he likes to learn, use it in training. I've explained this before. He'll learn something new, use it in training, and like utilize it in live training, then come back and learn it again, and then go and regurgitate it. And like I say regurgitate because the way it's explained on an instructional, the way he explains it, it's a lot easier to understand. So he regurgitates it back to us, and then we start like the learning process. But it's pretty cool because like me, sometimes I don't have the patience to sit in front of a computer. And then when I do, like I said, I get overwhelmed. Like the first 30 minutes, I'm just like, this is too much. But he can sit there all day and like take notes and go out in training, use it, come back, learn it again, and just refine little mistakes or see what was he struggling with when he was trying to use it, so he knows the struggles that some other people will come across once he teaches it, and he'll have an answer for it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious,
cool, yeah.
What instructionals you guys like to watch?
So right now we've been on the Danaher, the open guard series, the gi, like the butterfly. It's crazy because even when I explain it to people like that, I'm just like, dude, you would think jiu-jitsu open guard is like so many positions. Like the man narrows it down to 4 positions. Like, of course, there's different techniques, but it's like he narrows it down to 4 positions that you'll encounter, and they're the only 4 positions you'll likely only encounter, for open guard. And I'm like, my whole life, I'm over here thinking like it's like this giant dictionary, and he just narrowed it down for me. And that was like the first 30 minutes, and then just gripping, like how he talks about everyone teaches you how to use, how to do all these techniques, but no one really teaches you how to grab the gi. And just when he showed just little demonstrations of little grips, I was just like, man, 13 years a slave to the game, and I'm just not learning how to use grips, So those, we do the Gary Tonin ones, the Gordon Ryan. Right now we're doing the, as of right now, we're doing the side control, like pins and escapes. So we're doing that right now on that. But we're just little juju heads. Us and our guys will get together. We'll trade off videos and stuff like that, learn from each other. We also have another black belt. His name is Greg Payne. He's our black belt. And he's one too that literally is geeked out. Will sit in front of a computer, like come to us, show us all these new great like techniques, and I'll use them. You know, like again, when it comes to gripping the gi, there's so much more than just the lapel and cuff. You know, and pant leg. It's crazy, so crazy. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean that's super cool to hear from a hobbyist perspective, right? We have these epiphanies every day in class, right? The instructor shows something, you're like, oh, I've never seen De La Hiva like that or whatever. It's cool to hear somebody of your level still having these like breakthrough moments.
And honestly, again, that's one of the things that keeps me going. It's learning. It's always evolving. It's not, no disrespect to the other sports. It's not like in boxing, you know, you can do the same punches over and over, the kicks, you can only do so many, you know, whereas jiu-jitsu, it's like 13 years in and the game's still evolving. The game is just getting better and better and more tactical, more like systematic. It's not just you laying on the mat and just panicking, freaking out, trying to grab whatever comes at you first. It's now like, again, like I said, assessing what's in front of you, figuring out like, so giving a reaction and seeing how they react to it and then having an answer for that, you know, like imposing something, a technique, and then seeing how they react. They probably react 3 different ways, only 3 different ways they could possibly react, you know, and then you have an answer for all 3. So like I said, it's just being conscious in the moment. The instructionals just help me with that. I don't know, just being in tune, and I feel like a geek, like I'm in school again. I don't know. It's fun.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I think it's fun personally as well. I guess you kind of just touched on this, but you've been, like I said, in the game for a really long time at this point. What, whether it's the technique or the culture, what has changed in jiu-jitsu since, you know, you won your first world championship in like, was it 2017, 16, something like that? So since then,
2016, yeah.
Since then, how has the scene changed?
It's changed a lot, especially when it comes to the girls too, like the leg lock game. Like I remember I was competing in 2014 and I was doing heel hooks and like, you know, toe holds and knee bars and stuff. Everyone knew me as like a leg locker, but the girls weren't really hip to it. And now you have a lot of these girls that are, you know, coming out with some stuff. They're really talented. It's kind of scary, you know. It's pretty cool though. That, and then just the culture in general, how it's changed. I would say it's become a little bit more, it's moving on up to becoming a little bit more professional. Whereas like, you know, before it was a lot of, I tell people, I'm like, man, the first time I ever got paid for my first jiu-jitsu match was in 2016. So like, it's crazy that you say that, but that's when like I got my first, and I got paid like $100 to show, $100 to win. That was my first check, you know, as a black belt. So prior to that, I was competing at tournaments and trying to, you know, win the absolutes to make some money and stuff like that, or just to get a payday, you know, make back my registration, like stuff like that. So it's changed a lot in the sense of it's becoming more professional. There's a lot more shows coming up that are paying athletes, giving more platforms for them. Like a lot of other shows that are actually coming up with flow grappling, you know, so they're just giving these platforms for these athletes to showcase their skills. And as a result, like you have some of these up and coming athletes that are making some money in jiu-jitsu. Like there is maybe like a potential, what do you call that? Like a career down the line. Maybe not right now. I wouldn't say like quit your job and go for jiu-jitsu. Like it's something that you have to like start off with and progressively do over the years. It's not something that's just going to happen overnight. That's why I feel like black belts are called professors, because just the same amount of time it takes for someone to go to school to become a doctor is probably the same amount of time it takes you to become a black belt. So you've earned that, you know, title. So it's not something you can just, hey, I'm going to quit my job as a white belt and start as a professional jiu-jitsu athlete. So, yeah, so I feel like it's changed a lot in the sense that it's coming up a little bit more professional, more value in the sport. So hopefully it keeps growing that way, in a good way.
For sure. What would you like, if anything, what would you like to see changed in jiu-jitsu? Again, whether it has to do with the culture, the technique, what do you think jiu-jitsu could be doing better?
So this is just a subject that I'm always going to touch. And it's not about like the whole like being biased or anything, like, you know, women's rights. And like, I'm all for that too. But it's just, I get that the numbers aren't always theirs, but the numbers have changed over the years. And I feel like just having more female matches, female cards and stuff like that, just promoting more women's jiu-jitsu. Because like, let's be honest, like women's jiu-jitsu is fun. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because the girls are just more emotionally in tuned and more, you know, emotional. We're emotional and stable creatures sometimes. So I feel like that can interfere with like the match and all that. So, and the vibes. And it just gets a little crazy, riskier, more action. I don't know. I just feel like the girls' matches never disappoint, and fights, female fights as well. So it's just having more of that in cards and shows and stuff. That's one thing for sure I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I've interviewed a number of like female jiu-jitsu competitors, and you're definitely not alone. Like they want to see more divisions at ADCC, bigger divisions at ADCC.
Yeah.
How do you think those changes could come about? Not to put you on the spot, but like, what needs to happen to where women have better representation?
I think the last ADCC trials was enough representation. I think Mohassim did mention that he is planning on like making more weight classes. So I feel like our voices are being heard. It's just a matter of time of when. But as of right now, I feel like we're doing good as far as women's community in the jiu-jitsu community, us showing up. That was like a problem I felt like before. It was, we wanted this, but we weren't showing up, and this last ADCC trials that they had, I felt like it was a good showing. So little by little, baby steps.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the under 60 division at the West Coast trials had more entrants than at least one or two of the men's divisions. To your point. So
yeah, stacked, dude. It was crazy. Like I love seeing that. That's amazing to me, Whereas before, I remember doing the ADCC trials, and I probably had 2-3 matches to win the trials. So it's like some of those girls had like 6-7 matches that day.
Yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah.
Who do you like to watch compete? Who do you like to watch do jiu-jitsu?
As far as like female and male?
Whoever, yeah.
Whoever. Man, I gotta say, female. Luisa's always a treat to watch. Luisa Montero, like in the gi, she's always fun to watch. No-gi, who do I like? No-gi, oh my God. Fionn, always good. Like she's just so well-rounded. Would love to have a match with her one day. Brianna St. Marie too, great. So technical, technically sound, so good. As far as the males, I like Renato Canuto, his wife Raquel as well. Gary for no-gi, of course. Oh my God, I'm having a brain. Gordon Ryan. Who else? Yeah, it's real. Wagner too. I'm not gonna lie to you. He put on a great showing at ADCC. It's just I love just the violence. It's just I'm all for it, man. Who else? Oh, Rafael Lovato. Oh, pretty jiu-jitsu. Such pretty jiu-jitsu. Such nice. Yeah, there's so many, man. I just gotta sit down and think, but all of them.
No,
everyone has, and that's why I love jiu-jitsu, because it's everyone has their own unique style. It's not everyone has their own style, their own go-tos. Like one technique that you do one way, they do it a different way. Like that's what I love about jiu-jitsu, is you don't need to be tall. Like in basketball, you don't need to be big. In football, you don't need to run a lot. For soccer, like jiu-jitsu is what you make it. Like you make your own style.
Yeah, for sure. It's unique to everybody. And I will give a plug. You mentioned Brianna St. Marie. That your match with her was early last year, right? Something like that. Did not get enough love. One of the best matches of that year. I just feel like crazy toe hold wars in that match. Yeah. I don't know how you survived that.
Yeah, she totally threw me off on that. But luckily, like like I said, my feet are so bendy. Like I could show you right now. Like everyone always laughs at me because they're like, "What is that? Like a salt and pepper grinder?" Like. Yeah, so it's like my ankles naturally, they all like naturally pop and stuff like that. My stuff has been through some battle scars, man. So they literally crack. And so everyone was like, how did you? And I'm like, I'm fine, dude. If anything, she just did me a favor and just broke up some lactic acid.
Oh, man, that's insane.
Yeah, but she totally threw me off going for legs. I didn't expect that. Like when she started going for my legs, I'm like, okay, I didn't expect this, which was good game plan on her, because it made me have to adjust, be aware of her attacks, my attack, when to let go, when to keep going.
Yeah, I love that match. What are your competition plans moving forward for the rest of the year?
So as of right now, I have signed a match for one. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say who, but for July, that's up and coming. And then I have some seminars. I've had some people, some, friends on Instagram, some students and stuff hit me up for seminars and stuff. So I'm probably going to do some of those and then just see what comes up some ADCC trials. If I get like approved, do some IBJJFs in between. For the who's number one, I asked them, if they have any gi matches. Maybe Maisa's down to run it back again. I'll meet her at 115 in the gi if she wants. But yeah, I definitely want to get more gi matches this year. I love gi. I've always loved the gi. I know I do a lot of no gi, but I love the pajamas. So hopefully I can get some gi matches too.
I'd be down. It seems like who's number one is open at least to go in that direction more often.
Hopefully.
For sure. Well, that was all I had for you today. Now is your chance if you want to give any shout outs to anybody, sponsors, anything like that. Now would be the time.
For sure. I would definitely want to thank BJJ Tees. They've been with me for 7-8 years. Byron and Gina Lavorne out in Atlanta. The People's Jiu-Jitsu, that's my squad out here in West Palm Beach. Those are my guys. They are awesome. When I'm getting prepared for any type of upcoming match or anything, they're always down. They always show up. Elevated Martial Arts in Sharpsville, Pennsylvania. That's my brother's and my dad's gym. I'm going to start doing some camps there whenever I have any matches coming up. So if you guys are ever in the area of Pennsylvania, they're on the borderline of Ohio and Pennsylvania. So just hit them up. And then Apex Dental Labs. They've been working on some mouth guards for me. I've used them in the past. I'm terrible. I chew through my mouth guards and stuff. Terrible little grinder here. So thank you for that. And then also Scott Ferguson for Time to Shine Today. He's one of my husband's mentors, and like a lot of the positive, like mental attitude stuff that they've been working on, and a lot of the manifestation and just like mind training and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So I've been kind of picking off him, and thank you for that. But yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. All right. Well, Tubby, thanks so much. That was awesome.
Thank
Looking forward to seeing you compete in the future.
For sure. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, hon.
Thank you.